Good morning. Welcome to Marty's Vise. This morning I'm tying a golden shiner SimiSeal leech. The techniques here are applicable to all kinds of colors of leeches, and I thought this would be a good one to use to display it. I'm tying this on a Dai Riki 285. I like a hook with just a little bit of bend to it, kind of gives that leech the start of an undulation. I'm going to back this camera off a little bit so you can see a little better some of the techniques. I'm using a 140 denier thread. This is UTC. I like to use Danville's as well. And pick a color that kind of complements the SimiSeal leech yarn that you choose to use. But you do want a little heavier thread because we're going to split the thread to spin and dub our body. Now I'm going to start off with some Marabou, and I find that cream is a good color to go with this particular SimiSeal blend. And I don't need very much. This is going to be relatively sparse. So what I'm going to do is pick them off. I don't necessarily want them even. I want to go ahead and let them taper. And I'm going to figure out where to tie this in by laying it so that the tail is a little bit longer than the hook shank. And then I'm going to cut and tie the Marabou in towards the front, which is going to give me an even platform on which to spin the body. Now when I get back to where I'm right above the hook, if I just stop and relax right here, it's going to spring loose. So I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of 1, 2, 3 security wraps forward. Now I'm going to let that thread hang and see which way it's spinning, which is from above counterclockwise. And I'm going to encourage it and let it kind of settle so the thread flattens out. Now the dubbing, I'm going to get the leech yarn out of the package. What I'm going to do is just start pinching on the end. And get all those fibers running the same direction. And with experience you'll figure out about how much to use, but in the meantime it's real easy to just add a little bit or take a little bit off. So yeah, just get your bundle of yarn ready. Okay, now my thread has settled, and you can see as I rub it with the little bodkin, it's nice and flat. Well, what I'm going to do is get that right in my finger, stick the needle as close to the middle as you can get, and that's going to separate the thread. And here's my dubbing loop. I'm going to pick up the SimiSeal that I've already straightened and get that in between. And now that it's in between, now I'm going to spread it out. I'm going to slide a little bit up, a little bit down. And by the time I'm done, I got 3 or 4 fingers worth. Now, if I were to just spin this thread, the bobbin's going to swing all over the place and knock on the ground. So what I'm going to do is just get my whip finisher and hold it out towards me. Spin it back clockwise. Give it a couple of good spins. You really want it to grab that SimiSeal. Okay, now I've got a dubbing brush, and I'm going to just touch it a couple of times. This is a little dubbing tool from Spirit River that's been handy. Kind of sparse. Now to start wrapping at the back, I'm just going to take 1, 2, couple of turns off to get me back to the back and get started. I'm not packing those very tightly, these thread wraps, because I do want it to be sparse. We want this thing to have a little bit of volume but not a lot of substance. Comb back a little bit here and there. When I get to the front, I'm done. Just a whip finish. Now I'm going to take that Velcro and just pull everything out at right angles, and then a couple of sweeps back, and there we have a golden shiner SimiSeal leech. Tan's a good color to fish in the fall. I tied this on a size 10, and that's what I use mostly, but this year I'm going to try some smaller ones and try some bigger ones. I do know that the color is effective when you get into August and September.